how to succeed at remote viewing. This is such an awesome topic because when you master it, you can literally see through time and space to pick up any detail in that time-space continuum. It might sound far-fetched, and there are some things that are easier to remote view than others, but there's been so much research, government and non-government alike, into this incredible skill. So I want to give you 5 tools, techniques, tips, whatever you want to call them, with the understanding that this is a skill that does take some solid time and practice, but here's a bit of an understanding of what it is and a little bit of how to do it. So remote viewing is seeing psychically from a 4-dimensional awareness, essentially above this 3D time-space reality, and looking down to it. If you've ever seen the short film Flatland, if you have a 2-dimensional plane and you look at it from the 3D perspective, that 3D perspective can see anything on it, right? If you take the palm of your hand, just the flatness of this, say it's 2D, you can see this whole thing from a 3D perspective of depth. But as soon as you make a fist, this is 3D, how do you see the inside of this fist? What if there is a tattoo on one of my fingers? You could see it if it was 2D, but if there's a tattoo and it was 3D, you couldn't see it unless you remote viewed. Now, right away, a lot of thoughts go to, let's use it for the stock market, let's use it to find buried treasure. And that has happened. There was actually a front page Wall Street Journal article that remote viewing was used to beat the silver market. And the group that did this practice did it for selfless reasons, not just to get rich. And they succeeded, I think, 9 out of 10 times. This has been such an incredibly well-researched phenomenon and technique that it's talked about a lot. It's a very exciting thing to work on and work with, and yet it can be relatively tricky. So here's the first of 5 techniques. The first one is to release as much attachment, if not all attachment, from seeing the thing that you intend to see. So for example, when there were experiments with having somebody remote view a certain geographic location to see if like a nuclear weapons facility was being constructed above or below ground, the person being told to remote view really didn't care about that topic for either country. Maybe they didn't even know it was related to war or military. They were just told to draw what they could see at a certain latitude and longitude. So they drew the coordinates of, they drew the construction plans, and they drew like diagrams and stuff, and later on that was confirmed as satellite imagery. Now I'm not citing specific sources and examples because I want you to do your own investigative research, but there's been a lot of studies where people found the contents of an envelope, people found like lost and missing objects. There's actually a field called dowsing. And when you are really attached to an idea of accurately seeing, maybe it's something taboo, but when you really have a strong emotional attachment, you might try too hard. Your emotional brain might get really overactive. So when you can be completely detached, then you have that ability completely unhindered by the busyness of your mind. This is an activity to be done through your soul, the greater awareness of you, maybe using mental practices to discipline breathing, but overall it's good to be detached from your target, the thing you're remote viewing. The second item is to have a complete sense of relaxed openness. Now, if you think about a very sincere, heart-to-heart conversation you're having with a loved one, somebody you unconditionally love and appreciate, where you're holding space for them, and you're just open and you're receiving, right? You're allowing whatever comes in to go into your system without an agenda, without hoping they'll say a certain thing, without waiting to pounce and say the thing that's on your mind, just pure and beautiful listening. That is a close state to this open surrender, right? So say, for example, you want to remote view, let me find something that could be proven. You want to remote view the color of the gemstone of the bracelet on my left hand, and I'll show it to you in a minute. So pause this video for a second. There's probably no attachment other than the excitement of succeeding at a basic level magic technique, but even let even that go, and close your eyes, and just visualize the moment in the future where I'm holding up my left hand and you see the stone on the bracelet on my left wrist. And just be open and relaxed. And if the colors are shifting, that's your mind being active and trying to guess. But if you can just gently relax your body and be open to whatever's coming through, you might notice a certain color, right? when that becomes still and consistent and feels right, like a hit, then you've had a hit. And it's either right or it's wrong. And before I show this to you, this is a skill, and anytime you're learning a skill, you have certain rates of success and failure. Sometimes there's beginner's luck, sometimes there's a long streak where you're figuring it out, but ultimately the answer will become clear. And when the answer is clear over a large data set, 100, 200, 500 trials, you'll know your skill as a remote viewer in different categories. So I hope you're ready for it. Here we go. So if you intuited light green, that stone is paired out, then congratulations, you succeeded. If you didn't, no worries. Just like trying to draw a perfect circle your first time, you realize, wow, it's harder than it looks. But the more you can surrender and be open, the easier this technique is. The next step out of 3 is it's really helpful to have no other sensory stimuli. So obviously it's a bit different if you're watching a video in whatever environment you've been in, but one of the best ways to succeed at remote viewing is to have headphones on that are noise canceling, playing like a consistent sound or white noise or meditation music, or just blocking out some noise from your surroundings, to cover your eyes completely or be in a dark room where you don't have other impressions, and allow the DMT to flow from your brain and your pineal gland naturally and form into visuals in your inner eye, your third eye, your mind's eye, and allow those visuals to take the shape of whatever you're trying to remote view. Now, the 4th technique is a way of amplifying that, and it's keep your physical body as healthy as you can. If you have things that mess up your senses, plant medicines, alcohol, caffeine, all those things that affect your cognition and perceptions can affect the things that come in from the ether, from the world as a whole. And sometimes those things can amplify abilities, but if you want your natural abilities to be as strong as they can, as independent as you can be, you want to keep a baseline that you can always return to. And especially anything that you could build tolerance to, caffeine, I was going to say Adderall, which is a more fun version of caffeine for some, not recommending it, but alcohol, cannabis, psilocybin, all this stuff out there that people mess around with. As your body gets familiar with that stuff, sometimes people could need more and more of it, and they need to compensate the effects on their systems. And while it can be exciting to have a spike of different activity, it can alter your baseline and actually make it harder for you to do these different abilities when you're burning clean. So take really good care of your body, purify, detoxify, take spirulina, it's great for your pineal gland. Not medical advice, but research it, all the stuff is backed up. There's a lot you can do for your body. Now, the 5th thing, this might seem counterintuitive, so hear me out, is find a reason to be excited. Remote viewing has been studied by the CIA, practiced by the KGB. I learned it from a program developed by a former Navy SEAL. There's legitimacy in this stuff, being able to master it for whatever reason or purpose, finding your car keys, whatever, finding your next lover, finding where those lost concert tickets are, even though the stuff is digital, you know what I mean. But finding a reason to be excited and care is going to be so valuable. I practiced remote viewing for 70 hours before I knew I could really rely on it. 70 hours isn't that much. If you really want to build it, say devote all your hobby time in a week, give it 2 months, you've got that covered, right? You might only need 20 hours. You might be a natural. You might need 5. You might need more. But considering the value of this skill, having it for the rest of your life, if you drive, you probably invested more time than that in driving, and imagine not being able to drive. So yeah, it's going to take some time to get really good at it, and Wizard School, mentoring, masterminds, all the stuff I offer is a great way to help you along that journey. But if you really realize the high value of this skill, then you want a reason to care. You want to feel the joy and the excitement of succeeding in this skill to keep you going through that time and that practice. So hit me up through magicalgoldenage.com. Newsletter gives all sorts of great tips. You can reply at any time to find out about all the stuff I offer. If you have questions about remote viewing, experiences that were fun, that were awesome, comment below. And if you want a buddy to practice this with you, if you want to share this with somebody, share it on over to them, join the different groups I have on Facebook. This is one of the most exciting magical abilities, and I'm so grateful to share it here with you. Thanks so much for coming by. Really appreciate your time and love, and sending you lots of magical mojo. But of course, you knew I'd say that.